What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another video. So what are we talking about today, Millie?
Today we're going to be talking about clean and renewable energy.
Mm.
So yeah, basically clean renewable energy, we know that they've kind of made a resurgence in recent times, but we also know that the current administration is making a lot of cuts to clean green energy. So we're just going to be chatting about some of the myths about clean energy and also the multitude of reasons why humans should be utilizing them.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, all right. So where do we want to start?
Well, I'll start immediately. Just something that's been in the news
Ooh,
this
okay.
week.
What
The
is it?
president was making false, fictitious claims about how windmills kill a bunch of birds. And yeah, I just want to start right there because that is an absolute farce. That is false information. Yes, I'm sure animals get harmed, but animals get harmed by literally every single human construction.
Yeah, and can I please just say regarding the birds specifically, I'm sure the number is not zero
Yeah.
because it's a structure out in the wild.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But can we talk about how many birds probably fly into skyscrapers
Yeah.
every single day?
Right. And also, I mean, if you're concerned about the birds, right, President, then you wouldn't
Oh,
be removing all the protections on,
gutting.
national lands and protected lands and defunding our national parks. Like, those aren't things that you would do if you all of a sudden care about birds. So I think it's just, hypocrisy as its finest coming from, this administration per normal.
Yeah.
And they are essentially sending us back into the Stone Age. They've just recently announced hundreds of millions of dollars towards the coal industry. They've obviously started this conflict over oil
Yeah.
and have been, essentially draining the U.S. oil reserves as well. We're at our lowest amount since the
Wow.
1980s. So yeah, I think it's very obvious and evident that clean renewable energy is needed. Um,
So, but why has it been so like demonized?
I think it's been demonized particularly because of the reliance on oil and gas.
Mm.
I think there's a ton of marketing, a lot of indoctrination, a lot of misinformation that is going out and essentially just swaying the public. Well, not majority of the public, but swaying a portion of the public towards believing something is wrong with embracing futuristic technology, which is
Okay.
interesting because, the same group of people, they'll have the newest iPhone or they'll have the newest car or something like that, but then they don't understand why we should be advancing our energy systems in the same capacity. It's just dumbfounding in my
Yeah, that
my opinion.
is so
It's just like, how
crazy.
do you not see the correlation? How do you not understand that if cars are advancing and getting more fuel efficient, if our technology general is getting advancing, we're making advancements in chips, we're making advancements in healthcare research and all of these facets, we're advancing and moving towards the future. And then when it comes to energy, it's like humanity is just refuses to use our common sense, refuses to apply the same level of hunger towards advancing our energy
Hmm.
supply as we do everything
I
else.
know. And I mean, it's obviously because of oil, like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's so funny. I feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen this argument before of like the resources that go into building solar panels and building wind farms
Mm-hmm.
and those sorts of things. And, people will say, oh, it's bad because of the resources that need to be extracted to create the batteries and create the things that they use to produce the energy.
Mm.
But I feel like it's not really acknowledging the fact that we have to do the same thing for oil.
Yeah, I mean, here's the reality, right? Like, there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of oil spills,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've obliterated marine ecosystems due to oil spills. We've put oil wells in the ocean and dug up as much oil as possible and then abandoned them to continue leaking out oil into the ocean. So it's like, when we're comparing the damage to the environment, the damage to ecosystems, there is no comparison between the damage that the oil, gas, and coal industries have caused and renewable clean energy.
Mm.
It is a night and day difference. So that's why that argument, it's flawed. It's a fallacy
Mm-hmm.
argument. And anybody who is looking at it objectively would understand that the investment in clean energy will pay for itself in a multitude of ways. One, economically. it will create millions upon millions of jobs to switch over to clean green energy infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We will need human beings to make those wind farms, make those solar farms, make those hydroelectric energy sources. We will need human beings to create those jobs, tons of
True.
jobs that will stimulate the economy. The last time we were in a Great Depression, the way we got out of that depression was by investing in public works, in public infrastructure. FDR with the New Deal, whatever back then, they built tons of roads, tons of schools, tons of infrastructure for the people. And in doing so, they put Americans back to work and fixed a lot of the issues in our country.
Okay.
And this is a similar wave right now. We have a lot of people who are struggling, looking for work, a lot of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, struggling, and we have the opportunity to invest in a new industry and potentially put millions of Americans back in work and allow them to then in turn reinvest in our economy and pump more money into our economy. And we're missing out on that opportunity massively.
Wow. I mean, that's so true.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things publicly that could be done that would give people jobs, and clean energy is just one of the many things. And I feel like, you know, creating solar farms or even just like adding solar panels to houses, like those are, I mean, two separate things, you know, like
easy.
Solar farms, that could be a government job, you know, but
definitely.
Like home solar panels, that's a whole other kind of industry that you could get into as like a trade worker, you know, sort of
100%.
thing.
And it's just like those are sort of opportunities we're missing out on, and in turn it is forcing Americans to be overly reliant on one form of energy. So right now Americans are hurting at our purses right now because we're spending more on gas, we're spending more to commute to get around our country, and we're also spending more on energy. We're also naturally going to be spending more on energy too. And renewable energy sources work to lower the cost of energy for Americans.
That's true.
Even if you think a solar panel is ugly, if it can lower your yearly spend on electricity by hundreds of dollars, it's a no-brainer.
Truly.
So it is baffling to me that we don't utilize that. I mean, when you're in Europe, there's not a single country you can go to where you don't see wind farms spinning somewhere randomly in the country, in the countryside.
Yeah.
And here in the United States, it's like, we've got tons of countryside. We've got tons of space that isn't doing anything.
That's
and
very
instead
true.
of investing in clean energy, nothing. And it's setting us further and further behind the rest of the world. The rest of the world, the rest of the developed world, they are investing billions of dollars in clean energy, and they're making clean energy and bringing down the costs for their citizens.
And it just further exacerbates our reliance on oil and gas. And
100%. And it's just like, it is not a free market if a single industry is preventing other forms of energy from breaking through in the industry, right? That is a monopoly. Exactly. The oil companies are all in cahoots with each other. They all work together on pricing strategy. They all work together to make sure they can extract the maximum amount out of the consumer as possible. And the best way to protect the consumer and to provide more options for consumers and protection from predatory capitalists is by providing additional forms of energy. And solar and wind energy are generated by our Earth's natural forces. It's a no-brainer.
Why wouldn't we?
It is a no-brainer to invest in, and not even we're not even scratching the surface on the climate change implications of our current energy system. Our current energy system is literally obliterating our planet.
That's true. I mean,
Do we need another reason to want to change the way we operate? I mean, we've been focusing on oil and gas for hundreds of years.
When is it going to change?
When do we update? When do we advance our civilization further? It has to be some time. It is just not good enough from humanity.
No,
especially with all of the ample scientific data we've been given about climate change and about the human impact on climate change exasperating it. We could be making this change. It is so obvious.
It's so frustrating.
Clean, renewable energy. We should have wind farms literally everywhere. We should have solar panels. We're in the South right now. It is 90-something degrees, full sun, not a cloud in the sky today.
Not a single cloud.
No solar panels doing anything. The street light in our neighborhood flickers, doesn't even come on. It flickers on and off
It's
sometimes.
so bad.
A perfect example. One solar panel on top of that light post solves that problem.
So easily.
And that is just one example of what we could be doing.
That's
We
so
could be
true.
powering whole neighborhoods off of clean renewable energy, not even needing to connect them to the grid. That is the type
Yeah.
of system we could have if we actually wanted to progress our society and simultaneously save our planet.
Yeah, I mean 100%. It's just like all these companies who have their say in what our government is doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, all
that's
the
really,
lobbyists.
yeah, the lobbyists. That's
Yeah.
really what's stifling.
Yeah, because the
Everything.
reality is that most Americans actually do agree that we need to upgrade our energy system. Most Americans do agree on these sorts of issues, but it is our government that does not agree with us, which is also a sign that our government is not representing our interests. And
True.
that is the biggest red flag. The fact that our country hasn't used our tax dollars to invest in this sort of infrastructure shows that our government isn't interested in advancing our society,
Mm-mm.
because it is a no-brainer for clean renewable energy. It is a no-brainer.
So true.
And there's so many different forms.
There really are. There really are. I mean, all the dams
in the
country should be generating power.
Yeah.
Should be generating
We've got
power.
a ton of desert.
I know.
Solar panels in the
Solar
desert.
panels
Let's run them
everywhere.
Why not?
Truly. And I feel like you would always talk about this, and I feel like we saw a development in China or Japan where they implemented like almost hydraulic presses in their sidewalk or in stairs or something. So like when people walk on it, it generates power.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just
human power.
Human power.
From walking on a sidewalk.
Exactly.
Doing something that you would have been doing anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the things like that that are going to be the difference of like how far humanity can go. Because again, the implications of climate change are upon us. So shifting to clean energy, it's not even like an investable option. It is the survival option. It is what humans have to do in order to continue our species.
Yeah.
We have to switch to renewable energy. The thing about oil and gas, it is not renewable. There is a finite resource that we are pulling from on our planet, and we have been doing so for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
At some point, the supply will run out. At some point, the supply will dwindle, or our access to said supply will dwindle, and we will need other forms of energy.
100%.
It is just so dumb to get this reliant on one form of energy.
100%.
Massively dumb.
Because to your point, the rest of the resources that we are currently using are not renewable.
They're not.
And so how are we going to maintain this? Because at a certain point, the well is going to run dry, as they say.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to have anything to create the power that we rely on so heavily.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think we saw this quote recently. It's talking about if you're unprepared when an opportunity does present itself, you won't be able to, or like when the need comes, you won't be able to like hop onto it or something. I forget. But we saw a quote basically saying like, if you're not prepared for the inevitability of something, then you're never going to be able to actually execute what needs to be done
100%.
When that thing happens.
Yeah, it's like the classic, like, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best scenario.
Exactly.
It's like humans should be preparing for the worst, which is, what happens if we run out of oil? Well, that's not a big deal because we have all this wind, all this hydroelectric, all of this solar energy that we can utilize. You see, like, that is the issue. We're thinking so short-sighted. We're not thinking about humans 100 years from now or 200 years from now or 300 years from now. Everything is just like right now, maximize profit right now, destroy the environment right now. And it's like our planet, our species has to survive for more than just right now.
I know. It's so crazy to me that like these people who are making decisions on behalf of everyone don't care about what's going to happen to the next generation, as if they don't have children in that next generation.
Well, that's why
they don't
we
have
need
grandchildren in that next generation. Exactly. We need term limits, but it's like these people are all of the mindset that, oh, well, I'm not going to be here for that much longer, so why does it matter for me? But what about your kids? What about your grandkids? What about your great-grandkids? What about, and I'm saying great-grandkids because we know they're old.
Yeah.
So, so like, I just don't really understand that mindset of not really thinking about the generations to come But I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things that we could relate that to.
Yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
just one of them, because if we look at climate change, they're not thinking about what's going to happen in 50 years.
The
They're just thinking about
implications.
how
Yeah.
much money can I squeeze out of people right now so
Yeah.
that I can line my pockets
Yeah.
until I die.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then everyone can figure it out after. And it's just like
Yeah.
we
Well, it's
need
just not their problem anymore. Yeah.
exactly. So it's just like we need people who will actually act on behalf of the people, but obviously there's also
Yeah.
an element of voting in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so
Obviously
many
voting is
elements, right? Because they're restricting so much voting access.
yeah,
But yeah,
very
there's a lot
major
of
right
elements
now.
to it. But the reality of the situation is that humans have to shift towards clean, renewable energy sources. Time is running out. Scientists have been saying this for 40, 50 years now. And yeah, we're just the broken record repeating
I
what
know.
scientists have been saying, which is humans have to shift our consumption of energy, of oil, of coal, and shift the dynamic of our degradation of our own ecosystem.
Yeah, so
Otherwise,
true.
it will be the detriment of our species.
I know. And I think we were watching a documentary recently or
Mm.
something, and it was showing like I don't even know if it was climate related, but
Mm.
generally it relates
Yeah.
because we were talking about how it was showing protests
Mm.
from like a long time ago
That's right.
that were for, I think it was for climate change. Like
Yeah.
people were protesting to try and get the government to like really make changes and battle against climate change, battle against the human element that's impacting and further exacerbating these like the impacts of climate
Mm.
change.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about like thinking about how it's like we're literally living in almost a loop
Yeah.
because it's like every so often the same issues are still
Yeah.
happening, and then
History
there's
repeats
protests.
itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's protests happening for the same things, trying to fight against climate change, trying to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
the leaders to listen to the people about we need to make changes now and everything. And it's just 50 years ago they were doing the same thing, so it's like we're really seeing the time loop of
Yeah.
like
The loop continues because we
yeah,
didn't break the cycle.
exactly. So
It's facts, honestly, and that's such a good point about like historically this problem has come up and gotten a lot of support, a lot of traction, and still minimal things were done by like our government, by the world to address like the public's concern.
yeah,
And then yeah, now here we are later on, 50 years later, and we're still trying to like push the same
do the
thing.
same things, and
Yeah,
climate change has only gotten worse.
it's just a sign that history does repeat itself if nothing is learned from it.
Yep.
And yeah, I think humans fall into those patterns like a lot. And like from my perspective, I'm like, we know from historical record that humans have survived climate events on our
Mm-hmm.
planet before. But the thing to remember is that not most humans, only a select few groups of humans survived global catastrophes and were able to continue on our species.
Yeah.
So instead of pushing our planet and humanity to that limit again, where only a few people can survive, it makes way more sense to be preparing for the inevitable shift on our planet, right?
100%.
So yeah, sometimes it's just like baffling to me that like people don't have that foresight, that like long-term planning in mind, especially when they're making decisions for the masses. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So
So anyway, those were our thoughts on why Earth and humans need to heavily lean into clean, renewable energy sources. Massively important. And yeah,
if you made it this far,
thanks for watching. We'll
we'll
see
see
you
you
next
next
time.
time.
Peace.
Bye.